Hey guys, welcome back for another video. So, I've got another interview today with a special guest. Her name is Tamara. Tamara has been on the carnivore diet now for a few months, and since that time, she's experienced amazing health benefits and has shared her story and how she came across this diet in the first place. Tamara also co runs a channel by the title of SwissCarnivores on YouTube and on Instagram. I'll post the links in the video description below. Enjoy the video. So, Tamara, thank you for coming on. Would just like to know, tell us about yourself and tell us your story and how you got into this lifestyle and diet.
Oh my God, Jeff, like I think this is a $1 million question for every one of us.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
yeah, I think I've tried every possible diet out there. And yeah, the journey has been long. So just to give you a like really a story from back in the day when I was a teen and I was in gymnastics, and I was like really good at that. But then I had an injury, and at the age of 13, I had this huge operation that really stopped me from doing sports in a very short period of time and gain a lot of weight. And when you are very active and you don't really care what you're eating and you're a child, and then you start to get into this I mean, like you start to mature and you have your hormones changing. I started accumulating every gram of food I would eat, and I got
Hmm.
like maybe 10, 15 kilos on top of my normal weight. And obviously, it really affected me in terms of like my confidence. I was like at the
Yeah.
very communicative as a child. And then, like, really, when I started gaining weight, I didn't have any social interactions, and it was really tough for me. So obviously, I started looking for solutions. And like a lot of people, I think the obvious solutions are mainstream advice, right? So you
Yes.
start to remove red meat, you start to remove everything that seems like normal food, and you go towards, cornflakes and low-fat yogurts and fruits and vegetables. And until the age of 16, 17, I became vegan. I
Oh,
was pretty
wow.
much, I didn't even know what vegan was back then, because like, yeah, I
Right.
mean, like that was 20 something, 22 years ago, right? I was 16. So when I became vegan, I didn't even know what it was, right? But I started to lose a lot of weight the first month. I was only eating boiled rice, boiled potatoes, apples, and melon, like
Wow.
watermelon, like that
Wow.
for a few months. I did lose weight, but the worst part of that was losing the muscle mass. And at one
Hmm.
point, I had a blackout. I had my system
Hmm.
shutting out. I was probably eating 600, 700 calories per day. And, the body started chewing all my muscle, right? And I was completely like, I was almost skeletal, right? And I felt that something really went wrong, and I got scared when I had that. I almost lost consciousness. Right, everything blacked
Yeah.
out. I could hear the people around me, but I was not here, and really scared me because I was like, "Wow, well, this is not normal. Like, this is not a way you have to like you can sustain this lifestyle," and it really scared me. And obviously, you start getting back the food you used to eat. You didn't learn anything about your habits, right? And I
Hmm.
started eating the normal foods, the grains, the sugars, and gained all the weight back in just like maybe 1 month and a half. And that was also like very uncomfortable, right? So
Right.
I think people hearing, guys, if you can tell us in the comments if you tried something like radical like this, and if you feel if you can actually find yourself in this story where you don't know really what you're doing and you just try to find a solution, but everything seems so confusing and the right advice it's not working, right?
Hmm. Right. Right.
Yes. So then I had to like really move forward and find a better solution. I started exercising again, and I went to the university, and I changed completely my health habits. I started eating more animal products, and I started removing every sugar from my diet, like really no sugars, maybe occasionally on the weekends when I would go to my family. And I immediately lost weight, and it was not my goal, right? And I was like, huh,
Right,
this is
right.
crazy, right? This is like very interesting. And I did gain a normal weight, right? I lost the extra weight in that period. And then when I came in Switzerland, again, I started, like following, okay, now I have all these conditions. It's a great country, like you can really experiment. There is a lot of choices. And again, you follow the mainstream advice. And I did a
Mm.
lot of exercising, but I also started like not eating the meat here because I didn't like the flavor, right? And I was like,
Right.
oh, this is not the right thing for me. And I also, sometimes you just program yourself not to listen your body, right? And I started to go follow mainstream. Okay, what these coaches do. So they were eating highly processed protein powders and like salads and white meat, and that was my nutrition for a long period of time. And then, but in meanwhile, there was like always this question in the back of my head, like why this is not sustainable, why I would lose weight and then gain the weight, why I would, like carry all these, like moods with me when I would eat a lot of vegetables and not feel my best, and always
Mm.
being bloated and always being like, I I'm kind of like getting my fitness results, but I'm not at my optimal health, right? And in the same time, like this is long period of time that I'm like looking for information around nutrition. I've lost my dad to cardiac crisis, right? So he had a heart
Oh, I'm
attack,
sorry to
and
hear.
yeah, that was very challenging. I was in my 20s, and I was like, this is not normal. He was young. He was
Mm.
like only 55, and that was a big question for me, like what happened, like. And just to give you a context, that was he's the generation of people who grow up on vegetable oils.
Mm.
Like
Mm. Right.
to open up a little bit, maybe we'll touch on the vegetable oils in the conversation, and obviously white wheat, right? White bread. And I was like, that might be. And also his life, he was, in a lifestyle where he had to eat processed food. And we see what kind of price he paid. But that kind of like opened a loop in my mind. And I was like, there must be something about the lifestyle. And the second big challenge was my sister dying from cancer. And I was
Oh,
like,
I'm
this
sorry to hear that
has to do
too.
something. Exactly. She was super healthy, and when she went in Australia and started eating the food that was
Mm.
completely processed, and I think that kind of accelerated whatever cellular development was in her body. And really, she was very young as well. At 33, she died from cancer, right? And those
Right.
were the things that really underline my never ending research in what actually nutrition does to our body, not only how I feel and how I look, and like resolving my weight challenge from my injury, but also like how is nutrition connected with our health. And I mentioned the story of my father and my sister just to let you know that when I heard Dr. Seifert and Dr. Anthony
Mm.
Chaffee
Ah, yes.
talk about cancer being metabolic disease, I was like, this is it. This is the missing point. Like, this is the missing information from everything that I've ever learned about nutrition, calories, micronutrients, macronutrients, how they affect our body, what's good, what's not good. And then it really sent me to the rabbit hole to really understand what the carnivore diet is and see how this actually works and why is the optimal nutrition for our health. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
since October, I'm a pure carnivore. So
Wow.
it's been like almost 8, 9 months, right? So I adopted the
Congratulations.
lifestyle, mostly because I would love to be able to optimize my health, or at least give my body an optimal nutrition. I know I cannot maybe repair the bad habits I had prior to carnivore, or the good habits I think I was doing, right? But at least right now I feel I have a tool, which is something I mentioned before we started recording. I think at this moment I have a tool that actually can help me optimize my health. or at least take responsibility for what I can do for my health by adapting the carnivore diet. So yeah, Jeff, I hope I didn't bore the viewers, but this was
No,
like
definitely not.
22 years in 5 minutes, just to like show you how like my research never ended. And I think now I'm just beginning to dive into metabolic health and really understanding the absorption of the nutrients and how our body absorbs animal-based diet versus plant-based diets, right? So yeah, that's a little bit about my journey.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, so I have to be honest, I haven't really heard or watched any of Dr. Siegfried's work. Does he promote the carnivore or ketogenic diet in terms of treatment to cancer? I've heard of cancer being a metabolic condition, and I've heard bits and pieces, but I haven't actually took a dive into this area yet. So yeah, does he talk much about carnivore?
Yes, he talks about keto diet or ketogenic
Yes.
diet. And he also mentions the best way to get into ketosis is to eat animal-based diet, right? And he combines that with his process, which is, I think, push and pull strategy or some kind of like method he uses, which is because the cancer normally, and I'm like butchering this, I'm not a scientist, so people can go and like really watch. Maybe we can connect the interview of Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Dr. Chaffee in the notes so people can check it.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
I Yes, I think he uses an because cancer cells develop when there is a change in the respiratory process of the cell. So they
Right.
cannot use oxygen, and now they will go and use these ancient fuels, which one of those is glucose, and the
Glucose,
other
yeah.
one is glutamine, right? And
Right.
now the cell, to prevent the cell from like actually becoming cancerogen, we have to remove the fuel, which is also the sugar, right? So that's why he suggests eating a very, very low carb diet. And he uses this metabolic treatment that he has developed to actually lower the glutamine. And this is how he starves cancer. And then like with oxygen therapy, they can break it down and so on and so forth. So I was like, oh my God, like there is something that it's beyond these toxic, I would say, treatments. And we have to understand, like, if you are a little bit into learning how our metabolism works, and you'll see how misleaded we were. Cancer is not
Mm,
genetic. Cancer is not something that is like, oh, you're misfortune and you have been like given a bad lottery, right? It's not something that is out of our control. It's something that our cells, it's a reaction. It's like Dr. Seifert said, it is a toxification, right? We are
right.
exposed to constant toxins coming from the food, all these additional additives and stuff that is in the food, but mostly the sugar, right? And now our bodies cannot fight against it. But when you remove the toxins and the inflammations, well, you have a cell that can eventually heal. Now, this is full disclaimer. It's not like we have the cure for cancer, but it will send you maybe on like myself in this pathway to actually like find out for yourself and find out the truth. And that's what I can say about what I know about Dr. Seifert's method. Yes.
That's cool. Well, I definitely have some research to do. I haven't, like I said, haven't touched into this area before, but I have heard bits and pieces of it through, YouTube videos. So I'm quite interested in that actually. Um, so can I just go back a little bit to the time that you went vegan? How long did you do the vegan diet, I guess?
Oh my God. Like, if I can remember vividly, it was like maybe 6 months, but
Wow, okay.
yeah, it was like very, very, it was very aggressive, right? And yeah,
Mm,
maybe it was 6 months, like for what I can remember right now, because I didn't even know that was a vegan diet, like really.
mm,
And I can like tell you, and this is honest, it's not about bashing any
mm.
lifestyle. If you guys feel good on whatever diet you are and you feel that's your optimal health, good on you, right? But this is my personal experience. I've never felt worse in my life. I didn't
Oh,
sleep, had constant anxiety. Obviously, I was hungry all the time. Poor people around me, like I was super aggressive. Like when I would send nutrition, I would like get so overwhelmed and so like when you're super hungry and you don't allow yourself to eat, because I think it affects your mental health a lot. And you don't
Yes.
allow yourself to eat, you become like super asocial, super aggressive, and you're like, why these people can enjoy food and you cannot, like it
Mm.
really messes up your mind. And it was really, really, really a bad experience mentally for myself. And I'm someone, and maybe it's a good thing in terms of like business, but in terms of my health, it was not the good solution, right? And I would not listen to my body. And like when I put a goal, I have to follow it. So I tried the same business strategies on my body. Like I
Yeah.
had this entrepreneurial mindset from when I was a child, right? And I tried to win biology, right? I tried to go against my own biology, against what my body wanted, because I was following an official advice. Oh,
Right.
don't eat, like, oh, carbs are good. Like you go and eat carbs. And I was like, why am I hungry all the time? Why am I so nervous? And then, 16 years old, yes, I had a little bit more weight that I wanted to carry, but finding my body, like from someone who was an athlete and like super strong and like all muscle, and finding my body like not having muscle mass and only bones, it was a huge shock, right? And
Mm.
it was like, oh well, this is not healthy. And when I had this blackout, I was like, wow, this is like really not healthy. This, I don't know. And honestly, for women and men
Mm.
who have children and daughters and so on and so forth, it's very dangerous, because at 16 I did lost my cycle. And that was like
Wow.
really, really, really scared me. And it was not until 18 that I recovered it. So it took me 2 whole years of like going back to eating some meat and some animal products. And when as I mentioned, at university, I started eating
Mm.
more animal products. It's when I got back my cycle. So it's very detrimental. I think it's very, very detrimental for the health. So that was my personal experience with the vegan diet. I didn't know what it was. Like it was not a
Yeah.
propaganda
Yeah.
like now. It was more of an advice of nutritionists, cut down calories. I would know how many, like 12 calories in 100 grams of celery. Cool, I can eat 1 kilo of celery, like crazy stuff, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't know anything. You just think it's like, oh, calories in, calories out. Like it's simple mathematics. Let's do mathematics. Like it's logical, but it's not at all,
Yes.
because you cannot win against your biology. You cannot win against what your body really needs to actually survive and thrive.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
It's crazy because if you think about it, 6 months is relatively short, and to have the repercussions like you've just mentioned after such a short period of time in your life, really goes to show, I guess, how a change in diet to one that's now that we know is not ideal for a person can really take its toll on an individual like yourself. I think it's yeah, it's just amazing because I actually spoke with another friend I met online who went vegan for 4 years. Her name is Nicole from, I think her channel is Former Fat Girl. Yeah, she said she went vegan for 4 years as well, and it goes to show that it really isn't sustainable. And again, like you said, not a bash to any um anyone out there who eat a vegan diet, but yeah, it seems to be I guess a common trend that I have noticed online. So
Unfortunately.
yeah. Yeah. So let's go into what changes you've seen in your health. Actually, what changes have you seen since October last year going carnivore?
Very good. So first, how I feel in general, I feel like a superwoman. Honestly, this extra energy that I have and like really sharp mental focus that is very welcomed in my work, because I'm all the time working with clients and you have to deliver and so on and so forth. So really allows me to stay connected with people, to
Hmm.
listen, to take like really profound notes of what they're saying, remember, and bring that up in the conversation. Like all of these things that I'm saying, you don't notice them when you don't have them, right?
Right.
Like, oh, I feel like before I started carnivore, maybe my health started improving few years back when I started introducing again meat and eggs,
Yes.
a lot of eggs, thankfully, right? But I was
Hmm.
still doing like a lot of protein, processed protein, and white meat, which Like it's not very
Mm.
nutritional. Apart from the eggs and butter, I was not eating red meat. So since I started eating red meat back in October, I feel like my brain is on fire. The first time I ate
Right.
steak, because I cannot find steak here in Switzerland that I like, and we went in France and bought
Oh,
steak there.
really? Hmm.
Yes, and now I'm buying it from France, right? Because they have like a lot of choices and a specific race of the cow. I think it's the Limousin race, and
Yes,
the
yes.
steak is
Okay.
like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And when I introduced the steak back in my nutrition, my brain went like, okay, this is like all my neurons started to light up, and I was like, wow, this is like a like I don't know something happened in my mind, and my neurons started connecting and so on. So I think that's first. So feeling really like a superwoman, feeling like my mental health, my mental focus, then also my temper. I feel very calm.
Mm.
Nothing really can get me out of my peace, right? And I'm like super calm, and I'm like, okay, taking my time to get back to to what has been said. Normally, I was like always on the edge and always like reacting, and now I feel
Mm.
that I have this control to actually like calm down and do it. Those are like really the untangible that I notice right now that have improved the quality of my life. But then when it comes to the physical part, obviously I'm more performant in the gym. I did lost a lot of like 5 kilos the first month, and I kept it off. And now I feel that I have more muscle mass than,
Mm.
than I used to have. And it's very easy to sustain a satiety and feel that you have eaten really a good meal. And I
Yes.
can go like that for 9 hours, 10 hours, and I only eat when I'm hungry. It's not like, oh, it's 12 o'clock in Switzerland, you have to eat. No, it's like, okay, I am hungry, I will eat, and then I will eat when I'm hungry again, right? And I can feel my signals like I do I want fat or do I want protein, right? What my body needs. And it's really like it's been a huge change. My sleep has improved, like the quality of my sleep is amazing. I think that also affects the mental health and affects the energy levels. And then the bloating is gone. Like I was constantly, like keeping extra water in my body. And obviously, when you eat a lot of fiber, I had a lot of gas and it was painful. And now all of that is gone. And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing having a flat tummy. So yeah, it's been like for me, hopefully, what I hope to achieve with this diet is
Mm.
a long-term health, right? That will allow me to fight, any adversity. Would that be a cell that, was maybe not at its best level when I started carnivore, or, some kind of inflammations or toxins that are coming from the outside. So this is why I had, for me, it's not like losing the weight. I'm like not kid
Mm.
anymore,
Mm.
and I have healthy lifestyle. I exercise. It's not about having size like zero. For me, it's more about being healthy. But today it's more like, how can I help my body remain in the healthiest frame possible, right?
Right, right. That's yeah. Awesome. That's very as I'm listening to you, I'm kind of like reflecting on my experiences too, and I think, wow, there's so many similar parallels with our journey and the things that we've improved on our health. Because I always tell people the biggest thing for me is apart from the physical and the physiological changes you can see, one of the biggest things I could notice was just an improvement in mental health in general.
Mm.
And so when you brought that up, I thought you're absolutely right. That's exactly how I felt when I went on my journey as well. um so what does your diet actually look like in a day, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, absolutely. Like I have simplified everything for myself. Like I'm
Mm.
really, oh my God, Jock, when I think back when I was doing meal preps and all the carrots and cabbage and okay, whatever, like all the hours it took me in the kitchen. Now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, my lifestyle is so simple. So it's very, very simple. I usually eat eggs in the morning. If I'm hungry, I would, fry 3 eggs with a little bit of butter or pork fat, and obviously salt. I use a lot of sea salt, unraffinate sea salt, and that would be like my breakfast if I'm hungry. If I'm not hungry, I stopped drinking coffee for 4 months and I felt great. But I'm such a lover of coffee and I reintroduced the coffee because I really love that.
Yes.
It's my only thing that it's not
Yeah.
carnivore. And I do it because okay, I'm like, okay, I'm metabolically healthy and it's not the worst thing in the world. Let's have some coffee. I can stop it. I know I can stop it at any time if it's needed. So for me, that's a good, how can I say, mental frame to have. And now I'm just like enjoying it because it's something that I really want to enjoy, right? So I'm still drinking coffee now. So it will be, if I'm not hungry, I would drink the coffee, right? And
Right.
then at noon, I would throw côte de bœuf or steak on the, either on the barbecue or fried within pork fat. And I would eat maybe 1/3 of it. And that would be kind of like my lunch. And dinner would be like ground beef with eggs or bacon or
Mm.
something really super simple. I don't necessarily like do elaborated recipes. The more simple it is for me, the more sustainable it is. And occasionally I will have a whole cream with the coffee, but that's not I used to eat a lot of dairy, but I noticed that I didn't digest it very well, especially the cheeses. It gave me
Mm.
bloating. It gave me a little bit of uncomfort in my stomach, and I was like, And I don't even feel the best when I eat it. I feel hungry, and I feel I haven't ate. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of calories in this that don't serve me. I prefer steak. So I removed everything. Like I do eat some cheese and maybe some whole cream that from time to time, but it's not part of my 24/7 diet. For me, it's very simple. It's lamb chops, it's côte de
Mm.
bœuf or the steak, entrecôte. I think that's the ribeye in English.
Oh
And
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yes, and then it would be eggs, some butter, and pork fat, and that's pretty much my diet.
Wow. That it sounds amazing already. I think that's great. And with the coffee thing, I also stopped drinking coffee for a few months as well. Introduced it back in because you're right. One of those things that you just enjoy, and I enjoy my coffee. Um, but yeah,
As long as we don't feel guilty about it and you don't obsess, because I don't want this to for people to think, oh, you carnivores guys, you're like so, like you're so black and white. It's not about black and white. It's about,
no,
like I know what my body feels. That if I feel that coffee makes me feel bad, like cheese did, it's out of the list, right?
yeah,
But I feel great with when I drink coffee. I don't feel any secondary like or maybe bad stomach or headaches. I'm like, this is fine, and this is something that I want to eat. Now I can
yeah,
see, like, if I reintroduce something, I can see, like, oh, this I cannot eat this, right? It's not a good fit for me. Like maybe cheese
mm,
or this. I love the acid cream. How do you call that in English? It's a crème fraîche in French.
okay, all right,
It's a sour
yeah, not
cream.
too sure.
Yes, sorry. It's the
Sour
sour
cream,
cream, right?
okay,
Yes, I love that. But when I eat that, I don't feel good. So it's out of my list, right?
right,
I can eat
okay,
it occasionally, but it's not something that I would eat on purpose. So it's not about black and white. It's about really
mm,
listening to your body. And the best, honestly, the best I feel when I eat just meat, eggs, butter, pork fat, and like just salt. It's my
mm.
best, and also some lamb chops. And I feel the best like that. And I don't want to like introduce anything that affects the way I feel.
That's awesome. Now, take us through as well about some of the challenges or barriers you might have encountered during this, journey of yours. Um, yeah, what have you experienced that might have been a challenge or a barrier in this journey?
So I think I was ready to embrace a style like carnivore, right? Because obviously for a lot of people, they have this challenge, oh my God, like you will never drink alcohol or you will not eat
Yeah.
sweets. Right. And I'm like, okay, but this is something that I have been working on since I was 16. I was trying to find a way to liberate myself from the sugar addictions, from the wheat addictions, from the alcohol, anything, right? So I don't drink alcohol or very, 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 very occasionally, right? And in my life, I don't even remember that I had like drank alcohol to not feel well, right? So I never drink more than one glass of wine or whatever. So for me, it was already in my mindset that those things are not good for me. Sugar is not good for
Mm-mm.
me. So I started detoxing when I was 18, right? And when prior to starting carnivore, I was having this healthy lifestyle. I was not eating sugar. I was not eating processed food apart from processed protein because protein powders are healthy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So yes, so I didn't have this challenge of food addiction that I feel a lot of, and without sounding like, oh guys, if you eat sugar, you're addicted. No, it's just that it's a habit and it's very, very hard to break. And for me, I have been working on this, breaking those bad habits long before I started carnivore. So
Right.
finding the right nutrition that keeps me nourished, that gives me energy, that keeps me full, that I'm never hungry and I feel great and my body like really feels optimal, it was just like a jackpot for me. It was like, okay, I finally found what works for me, because I was probably eliminating all of these like junk foods. I don't eat junk food for years. Maybe once, like twice in my life, I bought McDonald's. Like that's all I have eaten as a junk food in my life, right? So I already had this health consciousness before, but I didn't have the right vehicle. Imagine, like I'm thinking right now, imagine if I found the carnivore diet when I was 16, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was looking for something like I was health conscious, but I didn't have the right tools. So I think
Mm-mm.
transitioning into the carnivore diet was not necessarily the biggest challenge for me. It was, like maybe all these years prior to that, eliminating bad choices,
Mm.
making an effort not to buy junk food, not to have it in my home, not to eat it, avoid eating, like in fast food restaurants and stuff like that. So I think that would probably could have been a challenge for me, but hopefully, like thankfully it's not, because it's been a lot of work prior to that.
Right. Right. And how are you in social situations, like if you're going out with family or friends? Because that's often, a lot of people that in, the kind of a community that would often say it has been troubling for them is that they go out and with friends or at a birthday party, and there's not many options for them to um, eat food.
Yes. So my friends know that I eat mostly meat, right? And they say, "Oh, we have a piece of meat for you." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Right? I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And if there is no meat, I would eat cheese. And if there is no cheese, I would say like, "Hey, I just like, do you have a couple of eggs? I will cook them for me. Like, no problem. Don't think about me if I'm like at a friend's house, right? So no problem." But when I'm outside in restaurants, I will normally order the same thing, and I said like, just don't put oil. I'm allergic on oil. Like this is the only thing, because sometimes people, they don't want to cook on butter, and they say like, we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
cook on butter, we don't have butter, and I'm like, don't put oil because I'm allergic. And when you say you're allergic, they don't want to take the responsibility of like you having an allergy and
yeah,
then them having a problem, and they will bring the meat on a rock, right? So it's only
yeah.
cool. It's only meat on the rock, and then I will ask for extra butter, and I'm like, okay, fine. And I don't explain myself. I don't really care what people think, honestly.
No,
This is
no.
my choice, it's my health.
Mm,
Some people are like, oh, you only eat meat, and why is that? And I'm saying like, hey, it's health reasons. I want to stay healthy, and if you want, I can send you some resources, and you do your own research. Some people, like are like, yeah, but that's not sustainable. And when they say something like that, I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Like
mm,
you do you. And when some people are curious and they say, well, how does that work? Well, why do you say that? Like, why do you mean? And then we can engage a conversation. I'm happy to share resources, but I'm not, like not trying to not to live my best life just because someone else has a different opinion about what healthy nutrition is than me. I have found something that works for me, and hopefully I can sustain this for a long period of time. So I would not, like not really care what people think. If I'm weird, if my
mm.
lifestyle is very restrictive, when I know that for the first time in my life, I eat all the calories my body needs, all the nutrients that my body needs, and the way I feel right now, compared to how I used to feel, like there is no price tag to that. There is no like people's opinion that can be attached to that.
That is awesome. That is like, something that a lot of people just don't understand outside of the kind of a community is, when you take when you take your health into your own hands, the social stuff or what people's feelings or what they think about your diet really doesn't matter. And I said it in one of my videos too that, food isn't supposed to be enjoyed. You're not supposed to enjoy it. You're not supposed to, feel, attached to it. Identity wise, first and foremost, it's for your survival. And so whatever, is most optimal for you as a person, as a human being, uh, that should be what your goal is when it comes to, selecting your diet choices. So yeah,
Mm,
that's awesome.
thank
Now,
you.
to wrap this up, so you have this YouTube channel. You have this YouTube channel called SwissCarnivores. Tell us about it and what it is that you do in your YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much for asking. So the Swiss Carnivores, it's a partnership with a friend of mine, Carnivore, Mel, and she's also like in Switzerland, and we kind of find each other on Instagram, and we're like, oh my God, you're a carnivore. Yes, and I'm in Switzerland. I was like, oh, the first carnivores in Switzerland. We have to start the movement because people here are very like luckily there is a lot of meat eaters and cheese eaters here in
Mm,
Switzerland because it's kind of like the traditional nutrition, but it's not
yes.
because they are aware of the quality of that authentic nutrition, right? It's more, it's like a tradition to eat quality meat. And people are like not necessarily knowing all the benefits about carnivore diet. And we
Yes.
decided to, yes, to create a channel where we can help people to have the information, right? Not pretending that we are doctors or knowing more than we know. Like I'm more than happy to share other doctors and scientists research to show people that there is evidence behind this, that there is like, this is not something that falls from the sky. This is like something that human species have been doing for millions of years, and
Mm-mm.
that we kind of have been our perception of what nutrition should be has been really affected by the food and drug industry, right? And
Mm.
the food industry creates the diseases, and the drug industry actually like gives you a solution or to become a lifelong client, right? And not to be a healthy person. So we want to change that. We want to give people tools. We want to get the information out there and help people not only in Switzerland, but whole Europe and everybody who speaks French and English to understand that there is maybe a different solution. I'm not saying that, it took me a while, and this is like something I want to insert here. I've heard about the carnivore diet 2019, right? But I have
Mm.
tried so many diets, so many ways of like counting calories, counting macros, going vegan,
Mm.
going vegetarian, doing keto, doing, I don't know, like I do everything that is on the planet. And when I heard about carnivore, I was like, oh my God, another fad diet. Like, and I like flipped the page, right?
Yeah.
So it took me life conditions, right? It took me awareness, it took me a need deep inside of me to say like I have to look at my health more precisely, right? When I was ready to absorb an information. So I'm saying that everybody will absorb the information at the level of the consciousness they are in their life, at the level of the conditions in their lives. And when they're ready to absorb our information and to go deeper, we want SwissCarnivores to be there for them and to say, oh, this is a great resource, and I'm happy someone took the time of the day to create this resource so I can like actually get ahead in my research and really find the solution to my health. So that's kind of the vision of the carnivore SwissCarnivores channel. We do share interviews like this one, and
Yes.
you're going to be our guest there as well. So we do share recipes, and I also, as I mentioned, like we share the scientific research and doctors trainings around how to do the carnivore diet the right way, what are the like nutritional benefits, what are the health benefits, and so on and so forth, so people really can have a jump start. If they come to our channel, they will have like a 360-degree idea of what the carnivore diet is, and find the top leaders and the people who are influencing our society so they can do their own research, find the papers, find the doctors who are ahead of us, and so on and so forth. So really making sure that everybody has access to the information.
That's awesome stuff. And I love your work. I love both you and Mel's work. You've done a great job. I actually, you know, saw you guys through Instagram first, as you know, that's how we interacted at first. And yeah, when I when I started watching your content and stuff, it's guys, if you're watching this video, you've got to subscribe to their YouTube channel and their Instagram. They have got great content, really, you know, uh, factual, and a lot of information for you to digest and to take it upon yourselves to do your own research. So yeah, I commend you guys for doing that, being the pioneers in Switzerland. Great job. Keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, guys. I want to thank you, Tamara, for your time, your valuable time, and working it out with our time differences, of course. Um, it's about 10:45 here, and I believe it's 2:45 p.m. There right now in Switzerland. So yeah, an amazing thing.
Teamwork.
Yes, yes, definitely. So guys, if you've liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below any of your thoughts after watching this interview. But until then, I'll see you next time.
Thank you
Okay.
for having me, Joff.
Thank you again.